Hey guys, it's Ixnira with a different kind of video today. I want to talk about the new game mode Conquest. I'm on Team Sharana, and the first round, Anna got super beaten up down to just a few territories, and then the next turn, she took back every single territory that was adjacent to the one she owned, and Alphonse, who at the time had the most territory, lost every area that was up for grabs, that was under contention. And I kind of asked myself what happened here. Like, Alphonse seemed to be kind of steamrolling. Um, but kind of thinking about it more, what happened was that Team Anna had the same number of players, or I assume that, each team has equal numbers of players and in an ideal conditions, like the same number of active players. And Anna's players were spread across fewer points of contention. And so she was able to kind of have higher scores in a fewer number of territories, and Alphonse's team had to defend a bunch of territories, and thus, like, the average score was lower because there were just more of them, with the same, because both teams had the same number of players. And this got me thinking about the map layout, because obviously some of these areas, or nodes, maybe I'm going to call them nodes, have more connections than others. This node in, or this group of nodes in the lower left-hand corner of the map have an interesting feature in that they are fairly isolated. Let's look at the simplified map I've made, and it becomes quite obvious how easy it is for Sharana to control that lower right-hand corner loop. Because if you control the loop, you're the Sharana marker, and then if you control the Sharana marker can't be taken, and then if you just control this one tile, then Anna only has one way to get at these, seven nodes, and that's like very like those that's basically a free 7 nodes for Sharana that she only has to spend defending one node. Likewise, the you can see how the areas between Anna and Alphonse have on average more connections. So if you have one territory, it can be attacked from more areas, and so there's just more nodes that are kind of highlighted. They're in that like lighter color that are able to be fought at, which dilutes the number of players at each node. So you can see in this map here, I've circled the ones that have 4 connections and put squares around the ones that have 3. And Sharana's side of the map has fewer connections, which makes it easier to defend. I want to share this other mobile game with you called Strategy. It's fairly simple, but basically there's this map. It has connections to other, or like there's territories that have connections to other territories, and you can also have a set number of units in each territory. And to attack and conquer another territory, the number of units you have in that territory all like roll dice, and they're compared. And if you have like on average a higher dice roll, you'll take the next territory and maybe have some suffer some losses. So you also get back 1 reinforcement at the end of your turn for each territory you control. And so the strategy is basically to find territories that you can kind of have as like a back, like that are not attackable, and to reinforce your front line. Hopefully you can see the parallels. The strategy I follow in this game is to reinforce border territories and capture territories that I have. So I have as few border territories as possible, which gives me a strong base from which to draw reinforcements so that I can continue to fight and kind of move forward. Now, I've compiled some other Outrealm maps, and you'll notice that in most of these maps, that node, that lower left or lower right-hand corner node kind of loop is mostly controlled by the same army, either Sharana or Anna. It's mostly Sharana because of just her starting proximity. And you'll also notice that in every map where Alphonse is ahead, the front that he's defending is a very long, like there's a lot of nodes that are up for contention on Alphonse's front, which makes it very hard for him to maintain that territory. Now, there's a couple maps where Alphonse is just totally steamrolled, and he's conquered so much territory that his front has kind of gone back in, like it ballooned out, and now it's kind of narrowing as he approaches this same loop. But that's like kind of the exception. Most maps are fairly even, and Sharana, unsurprisingly, controls that loop for most of these maps. And so I'm not necessarily saying Sharana is always going to win, or Sharana's team is like, or, I'm not like predicting outcomes, but I'm saying that given the starting conditions, Sharana can more easily defend 7 basically free nodes. That the other 2 team maps don't necessarily have for free. it's not like she's going to win every Conquest map for the rest of eternity, especially given the fact that in the announcement video, the preview of the Conquest game mode looked different. The little like kind of starter mascot squares are on different spaces, and the connections between the nodes are also different, which suggests that like when like the next time they reboot this event, the starter units will start in different places and that the connections will just be different. While this game mode could still use some improvements, it seems like IS plans to switch up the overworld map so that one army doesn't always have the same, more easily defensible terrain than the other teams. So, fingers crossed, hopefully they will do that, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, so thanks so much for watching. I hope this was interesting. Let me know about what your Conquest map looks like. I'm really curious to see how these are kind of playing out. There's thousands of the different Outrealms, so it kind of seems like an interesting like study in, I don't know, something about like maps and strategy. So I'd love to hear. And again, thanks so much for watching, and consider subscribing for more Fire Emblem content.